Alright, so we took a separate video to talk about the most common and most anomalous verb to be. Let's take a video, because it deserves it too, to talk about the most common and anomalous noun, the word for man or person, maðr. Now the root of this noun, the part that the endings are added to, is not unfamiliar. It's man, M-A-N-N, or English man with two N's. This is also the word for man or person in the descendant Scandinavian languages. What makes this weird? Well, to start with, in Old West Norse, that is the ancestor of Icelandic, Faroese, Norwegian, and the language the Eddas and Sagas are written in, R became eðar by a regular sound change at one point. That means that while you would expect the nominative singular of this masculine word to be maðr, in practice you never see that. You see maðr, which is not what you would expect. It does not look that much like man. In fact, beginners are likely to mistake that for a word like mother, because that's a little bit more what it sounds like. But maðr is the nominative singular, the subject form of man or person. A person is there, maðr þar. Now, I'm saying person because I like to reinforce that this word, while grammatically masculine in Old Norse, is in principle meaning neuter. I see it is the word that is used for person without necessarily meaning what the sex of that person is. If I want to specify that I see a man in the English sense, an adult male person, I will say Karl or Karl maðr. If I want to specify that it's a woman, I will say kona or kven maðr. Notice maðr is part of that word for woman. So maðr, yes, it is the same as the English word man, it's cognate with it, but it does not necessarily have a judgment about the sex of the person referred to. So I like to say person, even though it looks more like English man. Sometimes if I'm translating especially, I'll vary it up and say man or person, especially if man, if there's an obvious masculine sense to it. But person is often a better translation. All right, so maðr, accusative man, so there we just got the root without an ending, as we normally would in masculine nouns in the accusative singular. So exe man, I see a person. Genitive mans, so mans orð, a man's words. Mani is the dative, so I gave a person a gift, ek gav mani gjöf. And then the plural, of course, you think about English man, the plural isn't mans, it's men, and that's the exact same change in Old Norse. It's men in the nominative and accusative plural. Men are over there, men eru þar, I see men, exe men. Notice, if you've paid attention during the first lesson about strong verbs, this is the same as the change in taka, tek. This is I mutation, because the old plural would have been something more like manis at a time before Z's became R's, or manir anyway. The old I that was there changed the A into an E. Most I's that survive in the language don't cause that change. So dative singular is mani, not many, but these old I's that have now dropped caused I mutation. So you just got to remember the plural, men, men. And then genitive plurals, which you'd expect, going back to the normal form of the root, it's mana, so the ways of people see that are mana. And then the dative plural is monum, with, of course, the expected change U makes to an A, turning into huko. So ek gav monum gjavar. I gave gifts to people. Now, many compounds are formed with this word. For instance, a member of an army is a hermaður, army person, or about the closest that Old Norse gets to a word for soldier. And The word itself in manuscripts may often be represented by the rune in the younger Futhark that looks like the Greek letter psi. The rune's name is maðr, man or person, and so often to save space, you'll see that scribes use the rune. In my The Wanderer's Havamal, when I reproduce the Old Norse text there, I give the word maðr as the rune because that's just how it's written in that manuscript. Except I think one time, which is when I write it out in full. But even if you're trying to look at things in the most authentic way you can, looking at, say, the Wanderer's Havamal, you need to know what word to read out there, and the word is maðr, and these are its forms. I'll tack on a few exercises for you to practice the forms. The answers will follow on a separate slide after that. And as usual, if you have questions, remarks, looking for some clarifications or a spare exercise or two to practice this, feel free to send me a message on Patreon if you're a supporter there. And thank you if you are for helping me survive while making these videos about Norse language and myth for free in beautiful places in my Rocky Mountain homeland of Wyoming and Colorado. For now, from one of the most beautiful places in the world, the never summer mountains of far northern Colorado, I'm wishing you all the best.